9:07 a.m. Whitestone Aerospace hangar lights were cold. Single dad, Ethan Walker, a maintenance tech, stood rigid before the new CEO, Victoria Hale. Her gaze was ice. She slid a file across the desk. "You are late," she stated flatly. "You are terminated, immediately." Ethan nodded, knowing it was over. He detached his badge and turned away. His colleagues looked down. Ethan barely reached the entrance when a deafening roar hit them. A Navy Seahawk helicopter landed urgently outside. An officer burst through the doors. His voice cut the silence. "Where is Ethan Walker? We need him. Now." Victoria Hale froze, utterly speechless. Ethan Walker was 39 years old, a quiet survivor, and a single father. His life now revolved entirely around his 8-year-old son, Ben. Ben was a bright kid, imaginative and kind, but he suffered from severe, unpredictable asthma. 5 years ago, a critical complication during emergency surgery claimed Ethan's wife, Sarah, the anchor of his world. Since that day, Ethan's focus had been singular: stability for Ben. He lived a life without complaint, embracing obscurity. Ethan hadn't always been obscure. Before the tragedy, he was a decorated Naval Flight Systems engineer, the best of the best, known for solving impossible technical glitches under extreme pressure. He left the service, turning down multiple high-ranking promotions when Sarah's health began its terminal decline. He needed to trade combat deployment for steady bedside vigil. After Sarah passed, he searched for a job that offered minimal glory and maximum flexibility for Ben's school schedules and hospital visits. That's how he ended up at Whitestone Aerospace, one of the nation's largest defense contractors. He took a low-level maintenance technician job, fixing avionics on retired jets. His experience and deep, specialized knowledge were buried deep beneath a faded uniform. No one knew the truth. Ethan certainly never volunteered it. Victoria Hale, the CEO, represented a new era for Whitestone. She was brilliant, ruthless, and obsessed with cutting costs and boosting stock performance. She was known for cleaning up the machine, which meant eliminating any perceived waste, inefficiency, or lack of ambition. To her, Ethan was just another clock-punching technician, an easily replaceable cog in a massive machine. Today, Ethan was late. He was late coming directly from a battlefield of fear and exhaustion. Ben's severe asthma attack had started at 4:30 a.m., forcing 4 frantic, fluorescent-lit hours in the pediatric ER. The relief when Ben stabilized was immediately replaced by the dread of the clock. He knew the drive was impossible, but he had to try. The digital leave system, recently streamlined by Victoria, required 3 layers of approval for critical absence. A complex process designed to prevent minor sick days, not major family emergencies. The digital ticket, clearly flagged ER visit CN, sat awaiting approval from a mid-level manager who was already too intimidated by the new CEO's rigid metrics to hit approve without checking inventory first. This bureaucratic logjam made Ethan's late arrival look like a willful disregard for policy. Victoria didn't care about the file or the circumstances. She saw an opportunity. In front of a dozen employees, she decided to make an example of him. Her voice was sharp. "I don't tolerate failure to comply with the clock. Whitestone operates on precision, Mr. Walker, not sentimentality. Your emergency is irrelevant to the contract schedule." Ethan didn't fight back. He looked at her, saw the cold, determined set of her jaw, and knew that any defense would be futile. He was too tired to beg, too heartbroken to argue. He simply accepted the verdict. The shame of being publicly dismissed a dull pain compared to the fear he felt for Ben just hours earlier. He removed his security badge, feeling the familiar weight of the world settle back onto his shoulders. As he walked away, he cast one final glance back at the hangar, at the enormous skeletal frames of jets he knew intimately. He thought only of Ben, waiting at home with Mrs. Rodriguez. He left the building with nothing but his worn backpack and the crushing weight of unemployment. The air outside was crisp, quiet, and ordinary. Then the silence shattered. The sky began to vibrate, and the concrete of the tarmac pulsed beneath his feet. The noise grew into an unbearable, screaming roar. A massive military-grade helicopter marked with the insignia of the U.S. Navy descended rapidly toward the executive parking lot. It was an entrance that promised absolute immediate crisis, blowing over the perfectly manicured executive lawn and sending Victoria's staff scrambling for cover. The sudden arrival of the Navy Seahawk was pandemonium. Whitestone's security guards, trained to handle trespassing journalists and disgruntled suppliers, were utterly overwhelmed. They rushed the perimeter, confused and shouting into radios, while the massive rotor wash whipped dust, gravel, and loose papers into a blinding storm. The helicopter touched down hard. The side door slid open before the rotors even began to spool down. A man in crisp fatigues, a high-ranking lieutenant commander, jumped out. He moved with the focused, immediate aggression of someone on a critical mission. He ignored the panicked security detail. He ran directly toward the hangar entrance. Victoria Hale, who had just watched Ethan Walker disappear, was still in the doorway, momentarily paralyzed. Her executive composure returned instantly, driven by authority. She stepped forward, trying to maintain control of her space. "Commander," she said, her voice strained against the helicopter's fading whine. "This is a private facility. You cannot land here without clearance. I demand to know the meaning of this intrusion and who authorized it." The lieutenant commander stopped inches from her. He produced a simple, laminated card, a quick, official flash of authority, and his eyes were fixed, scanning the faces